What's going on, guys? Zuko back with another Dragonflight video. I just want to talk today about healing, and in particular healing this week, which is a bursting Grievous week. It's a really rough week to be a healer. I had a video yesterday on my Elemental Shaman, and people were a little upset with me for how I was handling the healers in my key. I was kind of flaming them a little bit. I understand the frustration there. I wasn't trying to be too harsh, and if I was being too harsh, then I do apologize for that. But the bottom line is that this week is a week where you can actually heal as a healer. You don't have to take the week off. People were like, oh, you just need to skip this week as a healer. It's like not even worth it. It actually is fine, and I'm going to try to talk about every healer in the game right now and how they can possibly deal with the problems that are presented because of Grievous and bursting. So I'm going to walk through each healer. I'm going to highlight some of the tools that they can use to make this week more bearable for you going forward, to try and make it so you can actually time some keys, okay? Let's jump into it. So for Evoker, you can actually stasis Cauterizing Flame, which is super cool. So Cauterizing Flame, of course, removes bleed, poison, curse, and disease effects on an ally and heals them if you remove the effect. You can actually use stasis here, which causes your next 3 helpful spells to be duplicated. So you press stasis into Cauterizing Flame 3 times, and now it's ready to go. And you can actually Cauterizing Flame most of your party. Let's say I do like a Temporal Anomaly into a Cauterizing Flame. We'll do the stasis one, and it bounces. You can bounce it to other allies. So I'm not sure if it can actually hit all 5 party members. I haven't experimented with it enough, but you can cast it at least on 2 or 3 allies and help to remove some of those bursting stacks if they end up getting too high. So that's one extra tool. You can maybe modify your build a little bit, spend stasis on Cauterizing Flame if you have a really big emergency moment. That is potentially a way just to help. I mean, otherwise you're just using really strong dots to help get everybody up, of course. Something like Temporal Anomaly into a big Dream Breath. You can Echo and hit everybody, and then get a big reversion here that jumps to multiple allies. So there's lots of ways for Evoker to do it, but there's a special ability with Cauterizing Flame, which is super cool. All right, for Druid, there's several things you can do to help mitigate the double affixes this week of bursting and Grievous, of course. I think that in terms of modifying your talent tree, you could spec into a 2-minute Trank, get Inner Peace. Also going to give you reduced damage, and you could just try to Trank like all the time to help deal with some of the big stacks. If you get a big stack that's coming in, it's not going to heal all of it completely, but it is a big deal. It's a lot of healing, and it's doubled when you're not in a raid, right? So it's actually about 40,000 healing per person over 7 seconds. And of course, the healing is going to be increased with your mastery, which is a really big deal as well. On top of that, I think that you could do a focus on having double life bloom and then getting procs from Verdancy when you're in F-flow, right? So that works like this. You've got your double life bloom out. I know you can't really see it, but once you put F-flow down, you can see the AoE procs going off right there. That I think can be really helpful. Also, Soul of the Forest is huge. If you have this rejuve out and you hit your Swiftmend, and then your next wild growth is going to be huge. You can get those big Swiftmended Soul of the Forest wild growths. Those are going to be really huge, I think, to help shore up some of the on-domain healing. Of course, you've also got things like Flourish to help extend all the dots, which is really good at the end of a pull. You're pulling 6, 7, 8, 10 mobs, let's say, on like a knockout offensive. You get to the very end and everything starts dying. You can refresh all your hots and then flourish them all into the bursting that's about to happen. So that can be really helpful. Convoke might be an option. It's probably not good, but it could be an option just to potentially get a bunch of burst heals going. And Convoke can often also give you a Swiftmend proc. I didn't have any hots out at the beginning, so that was a big mistake. But if you have some hots out, it can consume a hot and give you Swiftmend, which will give you Soul of the Forest, which you can then use on Wild Growth. And of course, if you use Wild Growth, you might get a proc on Power of the Archdruid, if you have that, to give you a bunch of big regrowths to hit on everybody. Boom, that's going to hit 3 people. That'll help to shore up some of the weakness as well. So I don't really know what the meta build for Resto Druid is right now, but there's a bunch of tools you can use to give you on-demand burst healing or big extra tranquilities that I think could help you deal with the double healer mechanic this week. For Holy Paladin this week, I think that you might want to pivot on a couple of talents. You could potentially go from Unending Light over to Bestow Faith. to get an extra heal on people. It does generate holy power as well, which is really good. You might want to move away from Avenging Crusader potentially, because again, out of combat healing is what we're looking for. Once the fight ends and all the enemies start dying from bursting, that's when you need to heal them. So Holy Paladin definitely has a really difficult time this week, I think above other healers. So, but I mean, you have things like you can have Divine Toll up at the end of a pack potentially, and you can keep everybody safe. Also, as you see in the footage here, let me switch over. I'll just show you this really quick. This is pretty good. I think that the healing here is actually pretty respectable. We'll see once the enemies die here. They start dying right now. Bursting starts going off. And you can see I have 2 beacons out. I don't have Beacon of Virtue, which I think you should probably take Beacon of Virtue. I don't have it, but we have 4 stacks of bursting. There's no priest to get rid of it. And we just keep everybody topped up. Boom, boom, boom. And a lot of the healing just carries through from bursting, which is really great. So I think that that is a great little case. The only other thing I would also say is you might want to add in Tears Deliverance into your build, which I think is actually quite strong. Even if you're doing a more melee-focused build, I'm going to cast it right here. Tears Deliverance goes off. Look at everybody's health. It bounces around to all the different targets who are damaged, right? Which is really cool. And obviously, you can...
Shadowlands? Nice. That's cool.
You can make it bounce around even more if you talent into it further. But I just think that it's pretty cool all on its own. So that's it for Paladin. All right, Mistweaver is interesting. I think that there's actually been some big changes to the spec recently that I didn't even realize until now. But like Rushing Jade Wind has been completely changed. Refreshing Jade Wind, sorry. It's a 40-second cooldown now, which is like really long. It used to be something you could sort of spam. But anyway, I think that the sort of fist weaving style is going to be one of the hardest to pull off this week in particular. Not to mention that Mistweaver is just one of the most different healers for anybody to play right now. Like, it's actually quite difficult. But there's some really great tools, particularly around Thunder Focus Tea and all the buffs to it. You can get Tea of Plenty. You can get an extra Empower right here. And you've got the Breath, of course, from when you activate Thunder Focus Tea. And then you can hopefully get a bonus to your Essence Font, which Essence Font can be really, really big during the Bursting and Grievous effect. It can really bring your team right back to life. The other thing I would suggest you might want to do is go Red Crane and potentially reduce its cooldown over here with Gift of the Celestials. Reduce the cooldown of Invoke Chi-Ji the Red Crane by 2 minutes, but decrease its duration by 12 seconds. That's okay. Instead of it being a 24-second duration, it's only a 12-second duration now, but it gets all of its healing out really quickly, and you have it up for every, like, more often than you normally would, right? So, again, you're breathing with the, whenever you press your Thunder Focus Tea, and then you can do Essence Font. My Crane's not doing anything right now because he's doesn't really have anything to heal. But you get your Renewing Mists out, and Essence Font is going to carry. And then if you want a big, big amount of healing, Refreshing Jade Wind is now your big AoE heal there. And then again, you got Essence Font as well. There's definitely ways to help as a Mistweaver to figure out how to deal with the extra healing required. I think Mistweaver is actually one of those healers that can really index into more healing if they want to, or they can index into more damage if they want to, depending on the week. So this is definitely a week where you're going to want to spend every Thunder Focus Tea on big healing. Maybe not on your Renewing or on your Rising Sun Kicks as much. Of course, you can still do that to get the extension on all your hots, but really, you're going to want to focus those Thunder Focus Teas on healing as much as possible, and I think you've got extra tools to do so. I think the 1 minute Chi-Ji is really big. You can have a huge Life Cocoon with the lower cooldown as well, and then it's about getting the Fey Lines into the Essence Fonts and doing your extra fist weaving on top of that as well. It's going to be really big. So I think Mistweaver is actually pretty good. Most people don't really know how to play it, including myself. I'm not super good or proficient at Mistweaver anymore, but I'm going to have to go back and learn it. But it might have the highest skill cap for this week, but I think if you pull it off, it would do a ton of extra healing for you. So, yeah. Holy Priest is going to be interesting this week. I think that Holy Priest is set up to actually do a ton of extra healing because of your mastery, right? I think that you're going to be able to fight off Grievous in particular. That stacking from Grievous over time is going to be easy to fight because you heal somebody with something, and then, of course, it's going to heal them over time after that, which is awesome. It just really helps to shore up that problem of people constantly ticking down. You're going to be constantly ticking people up. I think this week, more often than maybe ever before, you're going to want to make sure that you're doing a Lightweaver build. It's really good for just full healing people, basically. It's so big. You do a couple flash heals, and then you have your Lightweaver. It makes her heal really fast, and it hits them really hard and puts a really hard dot on them as well with your mastery. And then, of course, I think you should take Divine Word, and you should spend almost every Divine Word you possibly can on Sanctify, so that it can put this circle on the ground, and then you can continuously keep people topped up. It's kind of like a really overpowered F-flow from a Druid. So I think Lightweaver is the build to go this week for sure. Just spot healing everybody. Big heals over there, big heals over here. Let your mastery carry you through this week. I don't think that you're going to need any really much more than that. Holy is really built to do a lot of extra healing, and a lot of their mastery healing can tend to just overheal half the time. So I think they're set up to be in a good position. Powered Life, of course, going to be really big as well this week if people get low. But, yeah, I think actually Holy Priest is in an okay spot. I know that people are really mad about their talent tree right now because of Burning Vehemence being down here and stuff like that. But in terms of dealing with Bursting and Grievous, I think Holy is actually set up to be in a good spot for dungeons. You have Apotheosis, and then you have your big Lightweaver heals with those massive Divine Words going on the ground. That's going to be, I think, all you need for Holy Priest to make it work. So, yeah. Holy Priest is looking good. Disc Priest, I think, on the other hand, might struggle a little bit this week as well, just because they don't have a ton of direct healing that they do on the group. A lot of their healing is, of course, through atonement and making sure that you're healing through your damage. So I think that, like, you might end up spending more GCDs this week as a Disc Priest flash healing your friends. Just to get not only to get atonement on them, but to also remove Grievous stacks. I think that's actually pretty huge. And you might also end up penancing them directly as opposed to just penancing the enemies to do damage. Penance on your group this week might be really, really good, actually. So you're going to want to obviously fish for those big penances, get the 4 stacks going, and then you can really, your Powered Radiance is going to be huge, and then you might just want to penance somebody directly. And if they need to get those Grievous stacks off, that might be a really good way to deal with it. Now, I'm not saying that they have no direct healing. Of course, Disc Priest does, but they heal a lot through Atonement, which doesn't always remove those stacks of Grievous as easily as directly healing somebody does, right? So you might potentially struggle there a little bit. It just depends on how you set it up. But again, I think use Penance for direct healing. Be liberal use with your Powered Radiance, because Powered Radiance is so strong now. It's crazy. And then maybe shift over from a Shadow build to a more of a direct healing build. Go back to a Train of Thought, Divine Aegis, Wheel and Woe kind of style. I don't think you have to. I'm just saying that if you want to ease off the pressure a little bit, a lot of the healing that comes from Disc Priest is from doing damage, just like Fist Weaving, just like Holy Paladin. So you might struggle a little bit there, but just use your Penance, I think, in particular, more defensively. All right? All right, last but not least, of course, we have our Resto Shaman. I think that Resto Shaman is in a great spot for Grievous and for Bursting this week. I think that, number one, your Mastery really helps out because it digs people out of trouble when they get lower, which people tend to get lower this week because they're just dying all the time. So that's really, really cool. On top of that, I think the Healing Stream build really works well. I think that you could take Cloudburst for sure if you want to, but it's got a 39-second recharge, right? And I think that the Healing Stream Totem just has a lower recharge right there on its own. And Cloudburst is fine. It can get rid of a lot of the bursting problems that happen if you don't have like a priest with your group or whatever. But I found that I was able to take care of it just fine without needing that. And really, it's just about having Healing Stream Totems down, having your Riptides on everybody. A big Primordial Wave with Riptides on everybody is massive. That will just top everybody off. And then you have all your cooldowns. You have Ascendance, you have Spirit Link Totem. Healing Tide Totem's actually very good in a dungeon. It's huge. It really will keep everybody alive. You can get your totems back with Totemic Recall. You just have a ton of passive healing going on all the time. Like Totem, get my rain down, and then I'm just Riptiding, right? Riptide, Primordial Wave here, and then I can do damage. Do a little bit of damage if I want. And then if I really need to dig deep and heal everybody out of stuff, I can put my Earthen Wall down. I could pop AG, right? And then just do big healing surges on people. And that will clear Grievous stacks and, like, basically full heal people. And then it will heal other people as well because of how AG works. Ascendance is the same way. I pop Ascendance and I'm just spot healing people. It's a really, really big deal. and it can save everybody's life. So I'll show you, like, on the boss fight here, we actually did a huge key last night on the Resto Shaman. Let me show you here. Right, so here's the second boss on Not Good Offensive. And this is the Raging Tempest, and this is a 21 key that we did this week. And I used the Healing Stream build. Really, this fight is all about you need to collect the orbs as a healer. So right now I'm just passively healing everybody with my Riptides and my Healing Streams. And I'm getting as many orbs as I can because I'm getting ready for the first storm. And the first storm, I'm just going to pop 1 or 2 cooldowns. Here's the storm right here. Okay, so I get Riptides and everybody. I'm making sure I collect orbs. And then I'm just doing Healing Surge. Because you know what? I have all this passive healing going out from Riptides and from Healing Streams. And I can just hit people with enormous Healing Surges. We do have Lust rolling, so that's really helpful, of course. But you can see that's how that works. I'm doing 72k HPS. That's what you need in order to get this done. But even with the Grievous ticking in everybody, it's not that bad. You can get everybody topped up. It's really important that you don't let Grievous stack up past really the 2 mark. If it gets to 3 or 4, like, people just start ticking down way too hard. So again, make sure you collect orbs, as many as you can. Make sure you top yourself off before this goes off. This does a lot of damage. Everybody almost dies, right? You're going to go through a lot of mana on this fight. That's okay. So let's flash forward here. Fast forward. We'll get to the next storm, which I think right now. Okay, so I'll back up a little bit. So again, I have all my cooldowns still. I have Ascendance. I don't have AG. I have Ascendance, but I have Healing. I just put Healing Tide down, and I think I'm going to pop Ascendance here. Boom, there we go. So now you have Healing Tide and Healing Streams, and all my Riptides and my Healing Surges, they're all going into my Ascendance, which is duplicating it all, right? If you had Cloudburst, for example, you wouldn't be able to duplicate that kind of healing through Ascendance or through Ancestral Guidance. That's why Healing Stream Totem is so good, in my opinion, because it's healing people, and then it's duplicating that with AG and Ascendance, right? So it really keeps everybody alive. And you can see we're back up to 70k HPS. That's just what's required this week. And I know that people were talking about me being too harsh on healers in some of my previous videos, but I just think that, like, this week is totally doable. You don't have to take the week off as a healer. You can do this. It's just that it requires a lot more out of you. You got to be really coordinated. You have to make sure you're nailing your cooldowns. We actually end up getting a 3rd storm here, I think, at the very end of this fight. And I want to make sure I'm collecting orbs. You want to be at 10 orbs every single time on this fight as a healer because you just need the throughput. I have AG back. So look, storm number 3 is happening. I have AG and Spirit Link. I pop AG just to make sure we're okay. And then I'm just Healing Stream, Chain Heal. You just pump as much as you can, and your AG will copy that, right, of course, and get through. So I just wanted to show you that we actually timed this entire key. I don't know if I can get to the very end here. We did well on this key. You know, here's the last boss fight really quickly. This fight gets really nasty on the second half, right? Wait till we get to it. Let me just fast forward here. It's a little bit more. He's got to get to like half health. There we go. He's going to the transition now. So we have Lust up. Right here, I want to make sure I drop all my totems. So I drop Healing Stream Totem. I do AG and I do Healing Tide Totem. I'm saving Spirit Link and I'm saving Ascendance, but I might pop it if I need it. But you probably don't. Again, you just pop everything. You got your totems down, and Healing Tide Totem is actually so good in a dungeon in these kinds of environments. Really, really solid. My Riptides are out. And that's that. I mean, that's the hardest part of the fight for us as a healer. You have to pump right in that part right there, and if you get through, then you're good to go. Later in the fight, it gets a little bit more dangerous, of course, as the AoE damage comes through. But you can see it's just not that bad. I think Jordan got hit by a frontal there or something, by a cleave. No big deal. He's back up. And that's the end of the fight right there. So we actually did this with 3 minutes to spare. You know, we had lots of time. And we were able to time that there.
Nice.
So yeah, I think, like, I just want to be clear. There are ways that you can deal with Grievous and bursting this week. I know that it's intimidating for healers. I know that it can be really difficult. There are tools that every healer has. And let me just summarize by saying you need to just bank on not doing as much damage this week, right? You need to index more of your global cooldowns. You need to use them for healing instead of using them for damage. That's just the way it works this week. You might have to change your build a little bit. You might have to take a 2-minute trank. Make sure you have Beacon of Virtue on your Holy Paladin. Maybe you want to take Tears Deliverance. Maybe for Resto Druid, make sure you're pressing those wild growths with Soul of the Forest. For Resto Shaman, make sure you have maybe the Healing Stream build, because it's going to coordinate a lot better with the ticking damage. It's going to fight Grievous, right? It's going to fight Bursting a lot better over time. You're going to have to just index a little bit differently. Just shift your thinking a little bit this week if you want to truly heal and actually get lots of content done. I was able to do, how many keys did we do last night? We did a 21 Burial Ground, a 21 Azure Vault, a 22 Algathar Academy, and a 21 Nokka Defensive. I mean, that's what I did this week already on my Resto Shaman with this build. So it's all possible, guys. You just have to kind of buckle down and change the way that you think you need to play a little bit, because it is double healer affix this week. It's really brutal on us, and I get that, but there is a way to get through it. You just have to change the way that you play the game a little bit. Okay, that's it for me, guys. Thank you so much again for watching. Drop some comments down below. I love you all. I will see you in the next one.